US officials said on Thursday that a Chinese surveillance balloon has been flying over the United States for several days. Now let's first ask this question: what is a spy balloon? An observation balloon is a particular kind of balloon used as an airborne platform for spotting artillery and gathering intelligence. The usage of observation balloons started during the French Revolutionary Wars, and it peaked during World War I and is still being used sparingly today. So when were they first used? Let's try and bring to you some interesting facts. High-altitude balloons have been used for surveillance and other military tasks since the middle of the past century. Now, some facts about them as per a Reuters report. Let me share that with you too. Using balloons made to float in a jet stream air currents, the Japanese forces attempted to hoist incendiary bombs into American territory during the World War II. When one of the balloons landed in an Oregon woodland, 3 civilians were killed, but no military targets were injured. The US military then began investigating the use of high-altitude spy balloons shortly after World War II, which sparked a massive series of operations known as Project Genetrix. According to official records, the project flew photographic balloons throughout the area of the Soviet Union in the 1950s. The use of spy balloons thereafter has continued sparingly by nations. Now, at what altitude do they fly? Airliners hardly ever go higher than 40,000 feet. Hence, these balloons normally operate above 80,000 to 120,000 feet, that is 24,000 to 37,000 meters above Earth, much above the commercial air traffic flies. Although spy planes like the U-2 have a service ceiling of 80,000 feet or higher, the best fighter aircraft normally do not fly above 65,000 feet. But why use spy balloons now? According to a 2009 report, the US Air Force's Air Command and Staff College, the benefits of balloons over satellites include the ability to scan vast swaths of terrain from a closer in and also the ability to spend longer time over the target region. Also, these balloons can be launched for a lot less money than satellites, which need expensive space launchers. According to a 2005 research for the Air Force's Air Power Research Institute, the balloons are not directly steered, but can be generally guided towards a target region by altering the height to catch different wind currents. According to a senior US defense official, the US military has followed other surveillance balloons in the previous years, including before President Joe Biden's term. So this Chinese spy balloon coming there is not something which is out of the blue, but it has happened in the past, in the 50s especially under Project Genetrix. What is Project Genetrix? The United States Air Force's Project Genetrix, also known as the WS-119L, was created to deploy surveillance balloons made by General Mills over Communist China, Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union in order to acquire aerial photos and gather intelligence. The Genetrix balloons were much higher than any modern fighter plane, flying at altitudes between 50,000 to 100,000 feet, that is 15 to 30 kilometers above sea level. 516 high-altitude vehicles were launched from 5 separate launch sites between 10 January and 6 February 1956. Only 31 of the 54 retrieved objects offered usable pictures. Many balloons were shot down or blown off course, and the target nations lodged numerous diplomatic protests as a result of these flights. There was another project which I'd like to talk about, Project Mogul. Another project by the US Army Air Force, Project Mogul, involved microphones flown over high-altitude balloons with the main goal of detecting sound waves produced by Soviet atomic bomb tests at a distance. The project was completed between 1947 and the beginning of 1949. It was a classified element of an unclassified project carried out by atmospheric experts at the New York University, or the NYU. A network of seismic detectors and air sampling for fallout, which were less expensive, more dependable and simpler to install and operate, replaced the initiative, which was only somewhat successful but very expensive. So what is the current case that has now surfaced in these pictures and allegations? At President Joe Biden's request, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and top military officials considered shooting the balloon down, but decided against doing so, as it could endanger too many people on ground. A senior defense official told reporters on Thursday, clearly the intent of this balloon is for surveillance. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity, has revealed. The official further added that the balloon had flown over the northwest United States, where there are sensitive air bases and strategic nuclear missiles in underground silos, but that the Pentagon did not believe it constituted a particularly dangerous intelligence threat. Quote, "We assessed that this balloon had limited additive value from an intelligence collection perspective," unquote, the official said. The discovery of the aircraft comes just days before an expected visit to China by US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, with managing heightened tensions between the two powers at the top of the agenda. Blinken's visit to Beijing, which follows a meeting last November between President Biden and the Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 summit, will be the first trip to the Asian country by the United States' top diplomat since 2018. In addition to ongoing disputes over trade and intellectual property, relations between the two countries have frayed, particularly over democratically governed Taiwan, which China has pledged to reunite with the mainland by force if necessary. The US has been selling arms to Taiwan to defend itself, and Biden has said Washington would help protect Taiwan if China attacked. The defense officials said that the balloon entered US airspace a couple of days ago, but that American intelligence had been tracking it well before that. Lloyd Austin, who was in the Philippines, held discussions on Wednesday with top Pentagon officials after President Biden asked about opinions for dealing with the balloon. Fighter jets were flown to examine it while it was above Montana as discussions took place. For more details on the Chinese spy balloon and more information for news across the world, log on to news18.com.